What? Apparently I was not. Geez, why didn't you tell me? It's okay, you didn't miss much. So, I mean, I can go back, but you didn't miss much. Just, sorry. But, I just talked about the benefits and the promotion we have for the webinar. And I shared the screen. I shared the link. And there. Now that's the moment that, oh, I'm so sorry. So this is the thing. This is the only first slide that actually you need to see the screen. I can't believe I've done hundreds of webinars, still I make the same mistake. Unbelievable. Anyway, so thank you for letting me know. So this setup should be familiar to all of you. And it's awful. You got queued access, manual deployment, version control is last resort backup. When you work, it's blocking. You block each other. Not only you block each other because you might be working on the same object, you frequently overwrite each other and interrupt each other because you might be working on one package which might get invalidated, which might make life difficult for the other person who works on another package. You can't branch, you can't do merging. Projects, features, hotfixes are all intermingled. And there are usually rules, but and developers are expected to follow these rules, the rules for version control management manually. They have to remember them, which is awful. Nobody does that, especially during panic time. So I think we can help with that. We can change that just by installing Gitora. Just by installing Gitora to your current setup, and almost always this is the setup I see. Dev, test, UAT, pre-prod. I mean, the order and the names might be different, but this is close enough, I believe. By just installing Gitora to your current workflow and doing nothing else, you get a lot of benefits. You get automatic deployment. The source code will be in Gitora and reliably so. You can, whenever your dev or any other database crashes, you can reliably recover your source code from Gitora. You can actually now use these other databases between dev and prod to make changes if you want to. I mean, it's not great, but it's possible because your changes will not get lost. Because the databases now communicate via Gitora, the changes are merged. So whenever I pull code from dev to test, Gitora never overwrites. It merges. So any changes you make on test, even if you forget to move them back to dev, they're not going to get lost, which is great. So there is rudimentary branching and merging here, even this simple setup. So you get a lot of value just by installing Gitora day one. And of course, there's check and check out for packages for a shared development environment. But the best thing is version control is now, the rules are now enforced at the database level. That's great. That's what we really want. There are no backdoors. And from this point on, we can move forward. We can start adding new development databases for a project. Say there's a new project, and that team can create a new development database, clone the current development database, and start working on that. And you get fewer queues. They can modify anything they want. It's less blocking because now you have two environments. There will be less interruption. Basically, the more development databases you add, you'll have less interruption and fewer queues. Now, a project has its own work environment, which is also Nice. So green is great. Yellow is, it's not bad. And finally, of course, the logical end result of this progress that Gitora helps you to move forward is ultimately, ideally, every developer gets his own development environment. And since we're talking about databases, every developer gets his own database. Now, there is one question from Isha, so let me answer that. I have one question regarding Oracle packages. We are working on same package and using client machine. Yeah, I'm going to answer that question. Many times we work in the same package at the same time, and due to that, we lose our changes. Can you prevent this using Gitora? Yes. The answer is yes. You can prevent this. But here's what's not going to work. And we're going to talk about this. In such a setup, there is no way to have multiple developers to work on the same package if you only have one development database. This is technically impossible. I mean, this is like Java people. Imagine multiple Java developers working on the same file. Now, it's madness. And this is effectively what we're doing here. So to be able to work on the same logical package, each developer needs a copy. So if we have two development databases, then you'll have two physical copies of the same logical package, and each of them, each developer, each group, or whatever, can work on that physical package separately. But it's the same logical package, and Gitora will merge them. The merging of, so if both developers make changes, Gitora will be able to merge these changes. And it'll do that automatically. And we cannot figure out how these two physically different packages merge, then it'll ask you. So if the developers change the different parts of the package, that's usually an easy merge. But if they change the same line, then no software can tell what the right solution is, and neither can Gitora, or Git, for that matter. And it'll say that, you know what, there's a conflict here. And the developer must come in, usually both developers must look at it together and resolve that conflict. So this is the only way to solve this. It can be different databases, Marcelo. So you can have different databases, or it can be the same database but different schemas. That's also fine. As long as we have two physical copies of the same logical package, it's fine. You can achieve this by just having different schemas or by different databases. And ideally, every database developer should have his own database to work with. And ideally, the development team should use a workflow, which is an upstream workflow. So it starts with the developers, then it goes to the project servers, and it goes up. In this picture, it goes down. And the changes are merged. And finally, you deploy something to production. And in between those steps, you have integration tests and unit tests at the developer's level, or every other level. That's the ideal way of working. But I understand that it might be difficult to achieve this in day one, but it's possible. I got this question just yesterday, like, how do we do this? Do we install a database to each laptop? No, I mean, this is definitely a way of implementing this where each developer has a database on their laptop. But with 12c, with Oracle 12c, we got a great new option: pluggable databases. If you have 12c, you can give each developer a pluggable database. And that's great. That's much better than having an installation on the client machine. That's way easier to manage. You can even give these pluggable databases, fresh data. You can easily pass clone them. It's a lot easier to manage for a DBA. So I think that's the way to go. Everybody's going to be on 12c sooner or later. And once you're in 12c, I think the goal should be assigning a pluggable database to each developer where they can have a private environment to work on, and then to use Gitora to merge these changes. Well, there is one drawback. The question immediately came, and I was going to talk about that. So Venkat asks, is pluggable database, is the PDB covered under Enterprise Edition license? The answer is no. It's an add-on option, and it costs extra money. But the good news is, for the development databases, you don't have to make a purchase per processor. So this doesn't have to be a per processor license. This is a named user license, because essentially you want a PDB per developer. You want a PDB for each developer. So you got 10 developers. It's 10 named user licenses. So the cost is not that high. I think it's a few $100s. It's on the website. You can look. Actually, you can look now after the webinar and to remind you. So it's not that bad. It's totally worth it. And it's doable. Any questions so far? I've zipped through the slides because I wanted to do the demos. But any other questions regarding the promotion maybe, or the setups that I talk about? Yeah, please check with your vendor about named user license. I think if you're doing development, named user licenses make sense. You can even rent, but you don't even have to own them. You can like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year license. So no questions so far. I'm assuming you're all with me. To install Gitora. Marcelo, I see as to install Gitora. Abhishek asks, can we use schemas instead of PDB? Yes, you can. If you give a schema or a set of schemas to each developer, that also works. In the same database, that also works. The reason I'm saying PDB is most enterprises, like Renus, has 30 schemas. Now, they can't give 30 schemas to each developer. They don't want to do that. So DBAs will complain or whatever. But if you think you can, go for it. Like in our company, we got the one schema. Our application runs in one schema. So we give a schema to each developer. And that's fine. And it's all in the same database. And that's fine. That's perfect. You can start now, even with Oracle 11. Vijay asks, can Gitora maybe used for non-PLSQL object management, such as Java, JavaScript, J2E projects? Well, that's not Gitora's task, but Git can be used. That's why we chose Git. So obviously, most projects have a database side. So data objects and code objects are managed by Gitora using Git. Now, of course, every project, even the Renus project, has some Java code and JavaScript code, because they use Java and JE. For those, you use Git directly. I mean, that ecosystem, the Java ecosystem, already has the tools in place to use Git. And for your final repository, Gitora can point to the folder that represents the database objects, and the Java developers will target the other folder in the repo that has the Java objects. So the same repo can both have Java objects and database objects. Gitora will work only on the database objects, this is not a lack of feature. That's the way it's supposed to work, because the Java world already has the tools, the tool chain, to work with Git easily. We don't have to build anything new. It's the database that lacks the tool chain. That's why we have Gitora. To install, okay, so Marcelo's point is to install Gitora, we have to interact with DBAs. Yeah, I mean, it's not so bad. This helps DBAs. So most of our customers are DBAs, because this helps them manage their database easier. They can sleep at night. You can sleep at night. So not a big deal. It's just the schema. Gitora is a schema they install. That's it. Anybody there? Audio is not working. I don't know. Yeah, audio seems to be working. So I don't know. Nobody complained. I mean, this is internet, so things come and go. But audio has been working. Oh, Marcel asks, is installing Gitora DBA's work, or can it be done by developers? It depends how your company works. In some companies, developers are not allowed to install anything. They have no rights. I mean, Gitora as a setup, and I'm going to talk about that next, has a schema, has some Java application that runs in Tomcat or WebLogic or JBoss or whatever, so a Java web application server, and Git. That's it really. So if you're allowed to do that, if you're allowed to install these things, yeah, go ahead. Jeroen asks, see step 3 slide. Why does Gitora stop at the project level server? Can it also be used at the integration and prod level? Yes, it can be. I'm sorry, this is just an oversight. It doesn't have to stop there. Actually, if you look at this picture, see here, it is here. So yeah, you install Gitora at every level. Not even here, it's here. It's an oversight and lack of space, maybe. I forgot to put Gitora here. Of course, it can be here. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll fix it next time. Any other questions? Okay, so keep writing the questions, but let me quickly explain how Gitora works. It's really simple, really. Gitora sits between the user and the database. It consists of a database schema, an application server, a JE compliant application server. It ships with Tomcat, but it will work with Glassfish, JBoss, or WebLogic, whatever, it doesn't matter. It also has a Git component. The screen is here, so I'm going to look at this way for a minute. So, and the way it works is that we have a database trigger, actually, that listens to DDL events. So whenever you execute a DDL statement, we got a trigger that listens to that. And if the object that the statement is for is part of a Gitora repository, is managed by Gitora, then Gitora captures that event and saves the package to, say it's a package, for example, most commonly it's a package. Gitora detects that DDL for the package and writes that to a folder in the operating system as a file. Similarly for a view, similarly for a trigger or a function or a procedure, it detects these changes of create or replace commands and writes these to a folder in the database, in the operating system. And this folder, which is called a working folder, is managed by Git. Similarly, if you issue Git commands to this working folder, such as a reset moves you backwards and sometimes forwards, but let's keep it simple. For example, in Git, you can go backwards to a previous commit point. So your code looks like it's been written a week ago. Now, Gitora also looks at these commands, and it can update your database based on that command. So if you issue a reset and go a week back, Gitora automatically takes your database, the code in the database, back a week, and it's going to do that automatically. So it provides this bridge between the database and the Git, and it syncs your working directory with the code in the database. And it can divide the code in the database to multiple repositories. The way you work with it, the way you interact with it is really simple. You use your regular editor, Toad, PL/SQL developer, SQL developer, SQL navigator, whatever. The only extra step, Gitora has to know who you are. Unless you log into Gitora, it will not allow you modified database objects anymore. So there is literally one line of code, API Gitora.login, that you have to execute, then you open a session. Now, some people are lazy, like Renus people. They even automated that. So you can use a database level login trigger, which detects who the user is and connects you to Gitora automatically. So even, I mean, if you don't want to even execute that one line of code, you can do that. Personally, I don't mind, but some people do, which is okay. Gitora also has a set of APIs and a GUI to help you perform version control tasks, like merging, branching, going back to a previous state, moving forward. Like we have and you can look at the history of packages. I'm going to demo this to you today. And it's all really fast. And you can move code between different databases too. And it's all really fast because by design, it only, in the database, the scripts that are being executed are the ones that are changed. So if you move from one commit point to another in Git, of course, not the whole database has changed. Maybe a few packages have changed. And Gitora only executes the DDL statements for these few packages. So it's really fast. And like I said, it's really simple to log in, and it's also quite customizable. For example, this is one of the database level triggers that detects a create or replace command. And this is very customizable, so you can, one of the most common questions we get is, yeah, I don't want every object to go to version control. I want this rule. Can you do that rule? Can I implement rules? Yeah, you can modify the trigger any way you want and decide which object is managed by Gitora and which one is not. For example, a good use case for this is sometimes developers want to create, test objects that really don't belong to any repository. And Renus uses this prefix Z on objects. So anything that starts with a Z, the letter Z or ZZ, I think, they changed this piece of code in a way that Gitora completely ignores the objects that start with ZZ. That's just an example. Now it's demo time. Any questions before I start demo? How many firms are using Gitora currently? Now, until we released Gitora 3, Gitora had a free option. So it's hard for me to tell how many of Gitora 3 doesn't have a free option, but Gitora 2 and Gitora 1 had a free layer. So I don't know how many people use the free layer, but as far as the professional licenses are sold, we sold them in, I believe, 5 countries. So maybe like a 50, 60. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's around 50, 60. Any other questions? Okay, if there are questions, I'll answer them. Okay, so this is the discount page. Hang on, let me. Okay, so the first demo, a really simple and short one. Okay, questions. Balaji asks, do we need to log into Gitora when switching between schemas? No. You only need to connect to Gitora when you open a new database session, and you only need to do that once. As long as the session is alive, you're connected. Andre asks, can Gitora manage DML? I guess by DML he means like insert, update, select statements and version control of data. Not yet, but we are probably going to do that at some point, most likely. I can't promise anything about future development, but it is on our radar, and I think we got a good solution for that. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to show a very basic setup, and actually this is the setup. Just to so just two databases like here. I'm gonna do very little work here, and I'm gonna move those changes over here. This is the demo, the first demo. So I'm in this database. This is my development database. I'm connecting to the Gitora UI as John. I got nothing. I mean, I start with no repositories. I create my first repository. It's all GUI. My default schema is called NU. It's just a sample schema. Every repo has a default schema, but every repo can work with multiple schemas. So you can have one repo that spans 100 schemas. That's just fine, but there's always one default. And to keep the example simple and constrained, I'm going to just use one schema here. So now let's add objects to the schema to manage. So these are the packages in the schema. I'm just going to add them all. So these objects are now being managed by Gitora. You cannot edit them without logging into Gitora. I'm making my initial commit. So this is the first commit. It's a baseline in my repository. So I see my initial commit. This is a nice screen where you can see all the history of your changes. You can see what's committed. You can look at the code. You can look at history of the packages. You can see the commit history per package, or you can do diffs between objects, whatever. So this is the UI where you interact with Git and the history stored in Git. You see, the objects are now in Gitora in my repository, in my demo repo. Now, this is new in Gitora 3. I also want to manage what we call hard objects, meaning, objects that you cannot use with the create or replace statement. These objects can only be created and altered, such as tables, indexes, table spaces, whatnot. So this is new. I also not only want to manage packages, and views and procedures and functions, triggers, and object types. I also want to be able to manage tables in the schema. So for that, Gitora has the concept of managed schemas. So I pick new as a managed schema. Again, the same repo can manage multiple schemas. To keep this simple, I'm just choosing one. and I click OK. Now even the tables and everything else in this new schema is managed by Gitora. And notice there's a new automatic commit because Gitora automatically created a new package to manage the changes in the schema, which is called Gitora model followed by a random suffix. Random suffix. So Gitora model is the package which is going to store my DDLs. Questions? Okay, so no questions. Bye, Marcus. Thank you. And see, when I click, I can see the contents being committed. It's empty now. There's nothing. I haven't issued any DDL statements yet. And these are only table DDL statements, hard object DDL statements. Now, let's do something. Let's build a feature and commit that to Gitora. Now, first I have to log in, obviously. It's John. But look, my package, the Gitora model package is created automatically. It's empty. We're going to fill that in. We got 3 tables in the schema. First, I log in, John, and now I create a column in the new neuron table, and then I add a new function to the new PKG package. Now, probably I'm keeping the examples very simple so that you all can follow it, but this update can be arbitrarily complex. I mean, there is literally no limit. You can do anything you want. And most probably, this function would be querying, I mean, normally this function would query the new column I just created, for example. So I work a few hours or maybe all day. I'm done. I made my tests. And as you see here, this object is checked out by John, and that's automatic. So if an object is available, that is, it's not checked out by anyone, Gitora automatically checks out that object for the logged in user. This makes you work more fluently. Now I'm going to commit my changes to the version control repository. Note, I got a package, and I also have a DDL to commit. These are per user. This screen only shows modifications to the database made by this user. If there was another user who made other changes, I would not see them here. John can only commit his own changes. So I click commit, but before committing, I might forget what I've changed. I might be even working on 2 things at the same time. So I can always look at the difference, look at the content of what I've changed. For example, the greens are the additions. I can always see what I've done in that package and decide include or not include this change to this commit. So you don't have to commit everything you see here. You can pick and choose and create logically meaningful commits. So I completed feature 1. Feature 1 completed. That's my commit. That's my commit message. Every commit has a comment next to it, which is wonderful. So you know why. And here it is. If I click on it, I could see the changes. Maybe we do that later. Like I can see what has changed. Like I can come back 6 months later, and I can exactly see what happened in that commit. Now let's see the Gitora model package now. It has changed. When I commit, and only when I commit, if the commit has DDLs, this package changes. This package now has this altered table neuron and add column 1 DDL in it because it's committed. It shows who is it made by. And the nice thing, I will talk about more about that package. Now let's do one more change. This time I'm only doing data object changes, hard object changes. What I'm doing is I'm creating an index on a column on the neuron table, and I'm granting execute privileges on the NU PKG to HR. Gitora will be able to follow both of these DDL statements, and if they are done by John, all we do is commit. That was just a task we did, so task is completed, task 2 is completed. And what we're going to see is that these DDL statements are appended to the Gitora model package. So if you look at the Gitora model package now, it's changed, and you see the new DDL statement. And they are added in a way, as you can see, in PL/SQL blocks, so they never fail. So even if they fail, the errors are handled and returned back as a message. So you can run this package multiple times, and that's okay. And there are also APIs to run these packages automatically. So you don't have to type the name. You don't have to know the exact names of these packages. But I just wanted to show you the real thing behind. And the great thing is these packages can be edited by developers or DBAs. So you can change these packages any way you want. You can, if your development and test databases are in sync, you can delete it. It's okay because the history is in Git anyway. Or you can carry those to another package for historical reasons or whatever. But and you can call other functions, other procedures from inside this package. It's completely customizable. That's the nice thing about it. It gives you a nice encapsulated way of tracking your DDL state. That's it. This is the first step. Now the next step is we're going to move this code to our test database. But before that, I want to look if there are any questions. Isha asks, is there any PowerPoint to configure Gitora with Oracle? There are documents on our website that shows how you can install Gitora. Gitora comes with an installer, so you can use the installer. It's pretty good. We got 95% success rate with installation. But some enterprises are very restrictive. They don't allow installers, etc. For those types of enterprises, IT departments, we also have the manual installation script available. It's out there. You can download it. And we also have a blog post that talks about how to install Gitora manually. So everything's out there documented. Jim Campbell says, the lack of source code control hinders database development. Talk about why management can claim that software development is under control because we use Gitora. Developers are not your target audience. Gitora should be interfaces with ITIL tools like Remedy. You're right. Yes. That's a great point, Jim. Developers are the users, but these decisions are usually made by, by managers, I guess, or project managers and people who use ITIL tools. And yeah, it sort of complements this whole in the project management where you can actually have control of the database now. Isha asks, can we protect DB objects at client machine? If yes, how we can configure this in client machine? Or if you want, we can talk after the webinar. I have an open question which I can explain over call. Now, I don't know what you mean by DB objects at client machine, because client machines don't have database objects. Database objects in a database, which is in the server. And you can protect database objects, because you can lock them. If you remember a few just a few seconds ago, one of these objects had a green lock on it. That means if you have a lock on that, that means only John, if the lock is green, only John can edit this object and no one else. And if the lock is red, that means that the object is locked by another user. You cannot edit it. Yeah, packages and functions, you can lock them and prevent other people from editing. That's the whole point. And I just showed you that whenever you edit something, Gitora automatically locks it for you. There is no extra step. You can still use the UI to lock it, or call the API to lock it, but all you really have to do is just make a blank space in the package and save, and you're good. Any other questions? Okay, so Andrea asks, are the dependencies managed? Example, I create a table which I refer later in a package. Does the end script have the right order of events? Here's the thing. Yes and no. We don't have to manage the order between a table script and a package because the package changes they do not go into the Gitora model package. Packages are managed separately. Only hard objects, that is, objects that we cannot replace, are managed in the Gitora model package. And the order really doesn't matter if it's a package and a table, because if you move this code, they're both going to come together. I mean, you might make a mistake and move the code from the incorrect commit point, and then you'll have an error. But as long as they move together, there's no issue, because the package will compile eventually. Isha, yeah, like I said, with Gitora, you can lock packages. Don't worry about it. You can lock packages. Every developer can lock packages, and no one else will be able to edit them. If you have time, I'll show it to you, because it's going to show up again anyway. Venkant asks, what happens if a non-Gitora user modifies a package that is already locked in a single database scenario? Excellent question. A non-Gitora user cannot modify a package if the package is managed by Gitora, because we have a database level trigger that will prevent a non-Gitora user making a modification. It's not possible. It's just not possible. And if you have time, I can show it live, but if you're not connected, if an object, say this new PKG, for example, is managed by Gitora, there is no way to modify this package without logging into Gitora first, because there's a database level trigger that prevents that. The only way to go around it is to be the DBA and disable the trigger. So non-Gitora users cannot modify objects managed by Gitora. Gitora is tightly integrated with the workflow. There is no workaround, just no workaround. Okay, keep writing questions, and I'll move to the second part of the video. Now I'm going to move my changes to my test database. Now my test database is in the exact same state that my development database was before I started making these, modifications, these edits. So this is my test database, and as you see, it's in the original state. It is missing the column. It doesn't have the index. There's no index, and the package doesn't have the function that we just created. Now, I'm going to move these changes from my development environment to this new environment, the test environment. To do that, these two Gitora installations need to see each other. And this is how we do it. There is a button under the file menu. You basically do it once, and you connect the two together. There's a document how to do that on the website. It's really easy. Basically, you just punch in some numbers. Now, what you usually do is you pull code. In Git, the technical term is to pull. So you pull code. You will have to pull code from the dev environment to here. However, this is a brand new setup, so there is no repository here. It's all empty. So the very first step that we do only once is to clone the database. So instead of pulling, just for this very first time, we're going to clone the database. Not the database, I'm sorry, clone the repository. We're going to clone the demo repository. So I pick the remote Gitora installation that I want to clone from. I pick my demo repo. I give my repo a new name, and I give a new default schema. Now, these names could be different. I don't have to give the same names. I just do it so that it's easy to follow. And that's a source schema name. I'm going to pick a destination schema in my test database. It could be something else. I'm just picking new, but I didn't have to. And I click OK. Now the repo is cloned here. I have all the history here. Everything is moved here, and even the database is now updated. As you see, the Gitora model package is here now. The new package has the new code. Now, one thing that hasn't happened, though, is, see, it's here. The column is not here yet, so neither is the index. For that to happen, I have to run the Gitora model package, this Gitora model package, Gitora model 11. So I just do that. I run it. It returns a result. You can look at the result. It'll give you the errors, give you the successes. It returns a nice result. But at the end of the day, my column arrives, and my index is here too. And I can run the same package 100 times. It won't hurt anything. And this is really the first short video. It was really just like 8 minutes, less than 8 minutes, to show you the basics. Any questions about this? Because actually the fun part starts now. And if you like what you see, by the way, during the webinar, we have a discount. Instead of $169, it's $99. 30-day money-back guarantee. Here's the link. Let's see if there are any. Okay, no questions. So the most common question that I receive is this, and it all ties back together. Like, how do I, like, there are two questions, actually the same question. How can two people modify the same package? And a slightly modified and slightly more complicated version of the same question is, how can I develop two features simultaneously but deploy only one of them to production? Because if you got one development database, that's really hard, actually impossible. Very, very confusing. I've got a really long blog post about this too, and I'm going to email that to you. It's available online, but let's go over this and see how we do that. Now, things are going to get complicated. Now, this is our new setup. We're going to have dev 1, a dev 2, and a test database. So name this database pre-prod because everybody names it differently, but it's definitely a database that's before production, so it's pre-prod. So you can think of it as a test database. So what we're going to do is, so this is going to be where we integrate. This is our integration database. So imagine two developers or two teams, development teams. They were going to work on two different features, feature A and feature B. And the plan is to deploy both features to production together as part of a new release. It's a new version. This is how everything starts, but rarely the way it ends. Marcel asked, do the database structure must be the same, like same table space names? No. See, the Gitora model package, you can modify that package any way you like. It allows itself to manual manipulation, and you modify that according to your needs, and you commit it. So if you want to change table space names, you can change it there. And if you want to have a script that automatically changes those things, you can do it. If you want to have it generated differently, you can do it, and you can do anything you want. Okay, back to the topic. So this is the plan. This is the original plan. But things are not going to work the way. So in this scenario, there will be both teams will do their work. They're going to, in pre-prod, we're going to be ready to go production with both features. But in the last minute, the management will say that, no, we don't want feature A, but we want feature B in production. And this happens very often. This can be with bugs, features, projects, whatever. This is a very common scenario. And we'll see how Gitora will help you handle this. And this scales up, like this scales to N development databases. I'm giving you a very scaled down, understandable, comprehensible version, but this way of working, this workflow, scales to infinite. So we're going to start from scratch. We got the pre-prod. The pre-prod is a copy of production. They're at the same level, it's exact same. And pre-prod has a source code we're going to start with. Again, our famous new packages. And Dev 1 and Dev 2 only have the tables, but nothing else. They're just empty. Because we're not, to keep the example simple, we're not going to do any table changes. It's just going to be PL SQL changes. So I connect the pre-prod. I create my repo. We've already seen that. My schema is called the demo schema. The repository name is called NU. I add all the packages and make my initial commit. Okay, they're here. See, this green means only the release manager can edit these. No one else can because they're locked by the release manager. So we got the initial commit. Now we're going to go to Dev 1. And we're going to log in as John. Now the first thing we're going to do is clone the repo to Dev 1 because nothing exists here. This is the initial step. We always start with a clone. So we clone the repo from pre-prod. We're We're going to give the same name. Like I said, we don't have to, but I'm just trying to focus on the real problem and keep other things simple. And the whole history is here. There's only initial commit. And every object arrived to dev 1. We're going to repeat the same process for dev 2. This time Smith is working in dev 2. So we can, oops. So we just repeat the same thing here. And now dev 2 has the same code. It's cloned. And this graph is going to show, you're going to see this a lot, this shows our commit history. So the y-axis, is the time, and these are commit points. So at this point, they're all in this, it's same state. They're exact same because they're cloned. Preprod master, we got a master branch, so this example is also going to show you branching. So preprod master, dev 1 master, and dev 2 master. You got 3 branches in 3 different repositories. Now, dev 1 starts building, the team on dev 1, John, starts working on feature A. The first thing he does is he creates a new branch to build feature A. He uses the Gitora UI to do that. It starts from the master branch, it creates this feature A branch. And notice that the active branch on dev 1 is changed to feature A branch. It's not master anymore. We log into dev 1 as John and start making our changes. In the new PKG, we are adding the new feature, feature A. Again, this can be arbitrarily complex. Feature A might have 1,000 commits, doesn't matter. I'm just using this as an example. Okay, John's work. Now John is going to commit his changes to dev 1 feature A branch, because that's the active branch. Feature A might have hundreds of commits. It's just fine, and each commit can be arbitrarily complex. Okay, but for our example, feature A is complete. And this is our history now. We branched off. Yellow is dev 1 feature A. We branched off and made an additional commit in dev. Is everyone with me? Thanks, Sunil. Yeah, I'll send these all to you. Now, dev 2, Smith on dev 2 starts working on feature B, exactly the same way. He creates a branch called feature B based off of master. Basically repeats similar steps, but this time he builds feature B. So we log into dev 2 as Smith. And this time in the Neuron API package, we write the feature B function. This represents the feature B, and we make a save to dev 2 feature B. And now this is our new picture. There is a new branch, a pink, which represents dev2 feature B, and there's a new commit. Now both teams are done. They want to send their changes to pre-prod, where both features will be integrated. But in our workflow, the protocol is that different databases only communicate via the master branch. So we merge our changes from the feature A branch to the master branch, and similarly from the feature B branch to the master branch. So in dev1, I merge the feature A branch to master branch. The first step is the switch to the master branch, and then I'm going to do the merge. And you'll notice that as soon as I switch to the master branch on dev1, the code in the database is updated. I don't have the function anymore, because that function, the feature A function, was in the feature A branch. Now I do the merge. And notice that the history is also merged. So this commit that was in feature A is now also in the master branch in dev1. And this is the graph that shows what I've done. I've merged the feature A branch to master branch on dev1. Is everybody with me? Are you able to follow this? Was I able to explain it well? Yes, great, perfect. Moving on. Now, basically the same steps are going to be repeated in dev2. Oh, of course, the code now shows, as you see in the code, now I see the feature A because I merged, the code is automatically updated. Oh, before that, of course, now feature A is ready. We can send that code to pre-prod. So in we go to pre-prod, and we pull that code from dev1. Pull feature A to pre-prod, because it's ready. A pull is really just a merge from a remote Git repository. So we are pulling from the master branch in dev1 to the master branch in pre-prod. The goal here is, the reason why we do it this way is to keep the master always clean and in a working state, in a functioning state. Obviously, when you do these merges, at the local machines, the dev1 machine and dev2 machine, so you do unit tests, you do additional tests, and make sure everything works. I'm not doing them, of course, otherwise we'll be here for a while. Now, all the commit history is in pre-prod for feature A. And the pre-prod database is updated with the correct code for feature A. But I can run integration tests to make sure that my integration tests are not broken, or some functional tests even, or some unit tests or whatever. And this is the picture. This is what I've done. I merged the code to pre-prod master. I still have work to do in dev2. So basically what I do now is I repeat the same work in dev2. I change the branch from feature B to master. Again, the code is gone. The new change is gone because I switched active branches. I switched the active branch for this too. And I did the merge. I skipped that part quickly. Oh, this part is important. I'm sorry. I didn't do the merge. I lied to you. Now, here's the thing. There's something we haven't done in the first step. Notice before merging, I'm pulling. Why? Because preprod is updated. So either before or after, it doesn't matter. I did it before. Before merging feature B to my master in Dev2, well, there's some new stuff in preprod. Well, this new stuff might affect what I've done. So I have to know what it is and, resolve issues locally before moving forward and send my changes to preprod. Therefore, as a first step, I always pull from preprod to master. So any new changes that might have happened since I started developing my feature B, I need to know about that. So I got all the new updates. So I have feature E now. So this is the scenario. And the reason we do this is we cannot just send this code here because this code might break things in this line. And we don't want that. We don't want preprod master not be available. We want this preprod master be always available for integration tests. Therefore, any possible conflicts, any issues, we want to solve them locally in Dev2 or in Dev1 or whatever, not in preprod. So whenever I do this, I have to make sure that I'm pulling only the changes that from Dev2 or Dev1. I cannot just move this forward and then pull things here. That might cause problems. Is that clear? Why? Should be. I hope. Seems like it. Okay, now once I've done that, I'm good to go. Because I got everything. Feature A is actually now in Dev2, master branch. Now I have to merge the changes for feature B to the master branch in Dev2. So this is a local merge. I'm merging feature B. See the changes here. And now I merge this, so step forward. And now I'm ready to send this code to preprod for integration tests. Now all we need to do is to pull Dev2 master to preprod master, and we're ready to go to production. That was the initial plan, right? We're going to build 2 features, and we're going to call it a new version. So we are about to go production. It's really, everything is fine. The team is working, everything is just great. And remember, these changes can be arbitrarily complex. Hundreds of, we could be modifying hundreds of packages. Okay, so our merge to preprod is completed. Integration tests passed. We're ready to go. This is the picture we're in. Everything is here. We're good to go. But no, in the last minute, yeah, we got the code. Everything is updated, which is fine. Everything is merged. But in the last minute, management says, no, we want to move forward with feature B. We can't deploy feature A. In other words, maybe we want the bug fixes, but not the other feature or whatever. So feature A has to go. Now, this is a very sticky situation if you're working with one database. You basically, what's the polite word for this? Yeah, very bad situation. However, if you're using Gitora and using two development databases, it's easy. What we're going to do is reset dev2 master to its initial commit point. The reason we want to do this is we want to remove any commits related to feature A from dev2 master and also from preprod. And we want to create a package to deliver to preprod which only contains feature B. So here's what we do. We find the commit point that represents the master branch, and which doesn't have the feature A commits. Maybe I should show that again. See, this is where see initial commit. This is the feature A. We don't want feature A in dev2 anymore, so we find the first commit ID that doesn't have feature A, which happens to be this, and we revert back to that commit point in dev2 master. See, it's gone. It's not here anymore. There used to be some stuff here. They're not here anymore. And this is the state of our dev2 master. It's all gone. All the updates are gone. Now we're going to create our new delivery package, which only contains feature B. See, it's all gone. We're back to the initial state. Now we're going to merge feature B to master. This time the master branch, after this, the master branch in dev2 will only have the code for feature B. See? And this is our commit history now. We went back in time and then made a commit. This green thing is not here anymore. You see this whole thing is all gone. The pull we made from preprod is gone. Okay, we're ready, but preprod is not ready. Yeah, the code is exactly the way we want it. You got feature B, but not feature A. Now it's great. Now, we still have to fix preprod though, because it still has both features. So we go to a state where it doesn't have feature A, and that's the commit ID that doesn't have feature A in it. and it's all gone. We're back to a state where feature A is not in pre-prod. And now we're going to pull from dev to master. We are in pre-prod, master, and we're going to pull from dev to master. Yeah, every change we did is gone. And now we do our final step. And pull the code from dev to master to pre-prod master. Again, these moves may contain hundreds of packages, doesn't matter. They will all work correctly. Code is automatically updated. We are ready. And if you want to go to, so this is the final picture, and this is where we want it to be because there was a change in the last minute. And now, if you want to generate the new script, basically this script, that's also really easy. Basically, all we have to do is find the initial state, the commit ID for pre-prod, find the destination commit ID. In this case, it's head because it's the last commit. And we can create a diff script between those two commit points. So in other words, we can create a script automatically that gives us this difference by just a single API call or a single button call. And here it is. That's our script. It's there automatically. We don't even have to think about it. And we're done. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? No questions? Or are you guys typing? So this is a little information about our company. In total, we got probably more than 150 customers in 32 countries. I am in California. We also have an office in Istanbul. And these are some of our customers all over the world, from all over the world. Babcock from UK, McKesson, Team, banks, financial institutions, and whatnot. And this is today's promotion. We got a customer in Argentina, a municipality. I forget its name. You probably saw it on the slide. Jim asks, Gitora came a long way since version 1. Yes, thank you, Jim. What about other types of database objects? Now, I only showed tables, indexes, grants, and packages, but everything else is also managed by Gitora. I mean, I can't show everything, but it manages everything. Every DDL statement will be captured by Gitora. Goodbye, my friend. Thank you. Tony says you will definitely be adding a couple of companies as customers. Thank you. Thank you. I hope so. I hope a lot of people will benefit from this. Yeah, sure. I'll share the discount link again. So people tell me to keep the discount links alive for a little while longer. I'll do that. Any other questions? Everyone will receive a recording of this webinar along with the slides and maybe a few additional informational links. Give me a day or two. Marcelo has a question, but he'll send it via email. Okay, yeah, feel free to send me emails. The contact number is on, let me write it here. You can always find the contact email on the website, but feel free to email me personally. So, Joanne asks, is there somewhere on the website an instruction how to work with multiple schemas in the same database? I don't know, but see, the process is not that different. So let me try and see if I can connect. It's really the same. Let me see if I can connect and show that here. This is all live, so you see. Okay, so this is where I prepared the demo. So if I wanted to add a package from a different schema, what I would do is pick a different schema, I don't know, like HR, package one, just add it and click OK. Sorry about the debug messages. This is me. Oh, this is already being managed by some other. Okay, so I'll remove it. I'll pick some other package. All the tables, I have to find the one that's being managed. Oh, yeah. Okay. I wonder if this has packages. Use. Okay. So this is an Apex view. So I'll just add it. See, it showed up here. So it's really no different. And as far as managed schemas are concerned, all you do is you come here, you just add it here and click OK. So I got code test here. Hey, this looks like something that I created. So let's click. Now code test is managed by Gitora in terms of tables. So there is really nothing interesting and extra. Thank you, Balaji. Any other questions? Okay, seems like we can conclude this webinar. Thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it. You can download Gitora from our website, and actually a new version is coming in the next few days with some cool new additional features. And feel free to contact me, and thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.